Hello and welcome to the Wheel of Crime podcast. This podcast is run by two ladies who play games, shout profanities, and laugh way too often. Also, this podcast does cover topics of sensitive nature, and as such, listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to the Wheel of Crime podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Emily, and I was super thrown back today. I clapped for our recording, and all of my cat's toys went off. And I did not know that they could be activated by sound, I'm assuming. I thought they had to be activated through them being touched and played with, so that was new for me.
Fun. Hopefully that doesn't happen again in the middle of the night.
That is exactly what I was thinking. Glad to see we're on the same page.
That would be terrifying.
My Jen, what have you been up to this last week that we can share with our listeners?
Well, Emily has created a spreadsheet for us of all the trips that we're going on in the next 4 years. So I'm booked and busy.
That's true. Jen is not available until 2028, guys. So if you were hoping to see her anytime between now and then, it's not going to happen.
Not available. Absolutely not. You have a wedding? I won't be there.
Absolutely not. Yeah, because I'm not really the kind of girly who makes things like vision boards or manifestation forums or whatever it is people call them. So, this is my version of that, which is a nice little color-coded spreadsheet on the things that I have planned.
I love that. Honestly, it speaks to me because I spent, I think, 4 hours, like Saturday morning when I couldn't fall asleep, color-coding my new budget spreadsheet to make the colors prettier because I'm just like, if I have to look at it, I want it to be pretty.
And that's me also with my personal spreadsheets that I have changing the point forums because I decided I didn't like the formats of my tables.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we're
crazy.
the
That's
same level of psycho.
Genuinely. Yeah, because Pinterest, don't know her. All I know are spreadsheets. That's the best you're going to get out of me.
Emily's just a math girl. She loves a spreadsheet. She loves to do calculations.
Though,
it's her dream.
It's everything I've ever wanted and more.
Mm-hmm.
And what have I been up to this last week? Because now you're making me think. Because other than making this spreadsheet, what have I done? I feel like I've been dabbling into the world of Xbox gaming because I found and purchased a refurbished Xbox for myself. And
like what, Jen?
Yeah, and I grew up with one, which Jen will remember because we used to play games on it, but it's definitely so much different today than it used to be. It's kind of like, to run an Xbox, it's more similar to like running a computer. So I had a very large learning curve to get to where I wanted to be, and then I finally got a game that I've been wanting to try a little bit of. And then by the time that was all said and done, I was too tired, and I put myself to bed, and I have not touched it since.
What version of the Xbox do you have?
I think it's Series X. It's whatever one is. So there's only one newer one that's black. I think the other ones are like digital-only things where you can only play digital games, and they're white. So I have the one where you can actually like buy discs for it and then play discs off of it.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so that's
fun.
Interesting. I will definitely speak more on it once I put some time to actually using it. But that's neither here nor there. All right, Jen, would you like for us to get into our wheel of questions here? I have some questions prepared for you.
I would love nothing less.
Your wish is my command. What is your favorite type of dog?
My dog.
Obviously.
But like, are you talking breeds?
Yes.
Okay, like visually, it's a wiener dog. They're so fucking cute and long. I love that. I think temperament wise, I love a golden retriever. I also just love corgis because, again, long bodies, really funny. I love that. And I do love a
she's digging deep, guys. This is gonna be a good one.
Why can't I think of the name? I love a Rottweiler.
Like the black ones with the brown eyebrows?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cute.
What about you?
Well, if I was to picture one that I could potentially own, I really like most of the terrier breeds. And I also really like miniature greyhounds.
They're cute too.
And I do like miniature pinchers. And what else? There's another kind of small doggish breed that I like, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But as for
do you like a Schnauzer?
I honestly don't like Schnauzer that much. I know that my parents have one and all, but I mean, for hypoallergenic, like, I do think they would be a really good hypoallergenic dog to own, but I'm not a huge ratting dog kind of person. Like, most of the dog breeds that were born and bred for ratting specifically, just not really my thing. Like, I know terriers are, so that's kind of like counterintuitive, but yeah, I don't know.
I also love a spaniel. I feel like spaniels are really nice.
Yeah, like a King Charles Cocker Spaniel or whatever they are. They're really freaking cute.
They are. Their big little eyes. Are you kidding me?
I know. And then as far as like a dog breed that I do really love and would never own, Irish Wolfhound.
Why?
I like how unusual looking they are. They've got a very interesting coat. The reason I would never own one is because I can't see myself with a dog that's as big as an adult human person.
That is fair. That's why I will never own like a Great Dane.
Yeah, well, those are like the size of a horse, so that's even bigger than a person.
But that's also why I would never want to own like a Saint Bernard or a Newfoundlander.
And I think they're cute, and I think they're fine and fun for the people who do own them, and I do know people who own these breeds of dogs and everything. Like, I do also really like Saint Bernards. Like, I think they're just the cutest, dogs ever. But I don't, for me specifically in my lifestyle, I just don't think it would really be, it's not really the
vision.
Energy. Yeah, the energy in which I bring into my life. If I was to own a human-sized cat, however, different story.
Just Emily over here with like a snow leopard in our house.
The temptation is there. Is it legal? No. But do I still want it? Yes.
Emily exotic.
Yeah, that'll be my retirement plan, because then if it eats me, I'll already be like 90 years old, so.
Yeah, that's fair, honestly. Just, slay. Or get slayed.
Slay or get slayed. Absolutely. Yes. 10 out of 10. All right, let's spin for our next question.
Stop it. You stop that right now.
I've got a problem. I can't stop yawning. It's been all day. From the moment I've woken up this morning, I cannot stop. Okay, so my question for you, though, is if you had to guess what is the most likely thing to make a house haunted, what would you guess?
A ghost?
I mean, duh, Jen. I mean, what is the most likely thing to make somebody into a ghost, you think? Other than, and you can't say killing them, because that is also super fucking obvious. Death, Emily, obviously. How do you think people become ghosts?
Oh my god, that was so good. Oh, I'm so on point today. What was the question again?
That extra hour of vitamin D has just put Jen off the chizang. If you had to guess, what is the most likely thing to make a house haunted?
Being on top of a graveyard.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one. I like how you had to force that one out. Being on top of a graveyard.
What's your answer, bitch?
What is my answer? That's a good question. I feel like, murder?
Murder?
Yes. I feel like, generally people who get murdered don't want to be dead in the first place, and then they come back.
Accidental electrocution.
That would do it. Very, very Frankenstein's monster-esque without the monster. I see your vision.
Yeah. That's my second tier answer.
Do I have to give a second tier answer?
Yes, of course.
Okay, my second tier answer that we didn't ask for, but I'm gonna give anyways, is
I mean, I asked for it, so just saying.
fine. What would be the next most likely thing to make a house haunted? You already said being built on top of a graveyard. Maybe being built on top of ley lines. Like, remember my episode that I did about ley lines and how they're, like, temporarily spooky?
Isn't that like with poltergeists and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I see the vision.
It's like an energy thing.
Yeah. Ooh.
Alright. Well, let's spin for our next question. Okay. What is the most amount of pets you would ever own at one given time?
I think that would depend on the type of pets. I could see because currently I own 1 bird and 1 dog. I could see myself having 2 birds and 2 dogs. Max.
I think that's fair. I think it's fair to go off of what we already own, because that makes the most sense. I could see myself at maximum with, like, no, not even 4, 3 cats.
So you would add 1 more to the repertoire?
Yes. Space allowing.
So, does that include feral cats that you temporarily house outside and feed?
You mean my third unofficial cat that I may or may not be taking care of? Yes. In this specific instance, I would say perhaps.
So it does include that feral cat or doesn't?
I feel like no. So here's the thing. I feel like it does not include feral cats because I see how I feed the feral cats or other animals as part of the wildlife. Because I refill the outdoor dry food at the same time I refill the bird seed. But I do not consider every chickadee that comes by to be my chickadee.
But isn't it a little your chickadee?
Just a little bit my chickadee. Teensy bit.
What about this squirrel you punched?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's dead. And we were never friends, so I don't really care about him. And I was not feeding him on purpose. He was just a dirty thief, so he deserves to die.
Oh my god. She's joking.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm definitely joking, not at all serious about the squirrel that was living in my wall for 2 years. That definitely should not have been in there. This is very hilarious, guys. We're all laughing.
Ha ha ha.
All right, well, I think we have our answer with that one. Now, let's spin for our last question. Do you believe that evil people exist?
Yes, I do. I don't think people are inherently evil. I think most people are good. If not selfish, which I think are different.
Yes.
I think most people are good, but a little selfish, which is fine. It doesn't make them the nicest, but I think there are some people who are genuinely evil. But not many. I think that they are, like, fewer than, like, there's a bigger ratio of good to evil.
Mm-hmm. And I would argue even that you could say evil people exist partially through how they choose to respond to their own circumstances and the type of people that they choose to become, while also saying that, in part, I do think a lot of the times people who have some pre-diagnoses where they are maybe more inherently apathetic or unempathetic, like the sociopathics or the psychopathics, where there are still people who are diagnosed with both either sociopathy or psychopathy who are not evil people, but I think that that can be a contributing factor to people who are evil people, if that makes sense.
It does. Like, I don't know. I don't think people are born evil per se. I think it's usually circumstance.
It's
that makes them that
it's
way.
The types of choices that, and what they, it's how they think, the types of choices that they make, and then however many other contributing factors that a person gets in life, I guess.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah, well, it sounds like we're pretty much on the same page there. And I will, just to preface, I 110% agree with your initial assessment of most people being good, but definitely also selfish, because that's something that I think people don't often consider.
Goodness does not necessarily equate to niceness.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I think you can be a good person who's selfish, but also not a nice person.
Exactly. Exactly right. And I think a good example of that might just be people who, say, are known to be nice to their friends and family or people who are close to them, but then actively do things that are maybe not so nice to the people that they do not know or
don't
what have
like.
you. Yeah, or don't like, which does not equate to being a nice person.
Yeah, exactly.
Selectively
There's nuance
there. Does
there.
not make you a kind person. Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
And I say that as not a nice person, so I'm allowed.
Same.
All right. Well, can you take a guess to what my story is for you today?
A dog lives in a haunted house and he's really fucking scared because he thinks his owner is evil.
No, but that would be really sad. No, my story for you today is actually a little bit of a true crimey story for you. I know that literally never happens.
Shocking.
I know, but it is also very sad. And I'm just going to put this TW here, a little bit of a trigger warning for everybody, even though we literally already do that. When we open up the podcast, there is mentions of animal abuse in this story.
Okay.
Jen's like, okay, I'm going to stop listening. Bye, guys.
Signing off. I can't.
Signing off. Nothing too crazy. I'll try and gloss over a lot of the stuff that I feel like is not totally necessary to mention, but it is a part of the story, so just keep that in mind.
Okay. Take it away, Em.
So I'll start with the description. Quitman is a city in Claiborne and Faulkner counties in the U.S. state of Arkansas. Its population was 762 at the 2010 census, and a portion of the city in Faulkner County is a part of Central Arkansas region. Does this help you guess?
Wow, geography.
So, I wanted to include an actual description for this story, but then everything I could find as far as, like, light descriptions or, like, light official descriptions just give away the entire story. So instead you get a description of where this takes place.
I have no idea what we're doing here.
Well, I'll get into it then. Some people who live in Claiborne County believe ghosts, including a World War I soldier and a family, haunt a Victorian-era home in downtown Quitman. Why so many restless spirits in a sleepy town like Quitman? It may have to do with the area's past, says a Dr. Mike Barnett, a retired physician and member of the Heber Springs Historical Society. He also says that Quitman is much older than most any community in north central Arkansas, and during the Civil War, it was a popular place for men to enlist in the Army. Until 1870, Quitman was a major trading center and an important crossroads. It was the halfway point for those traveling from Memphis to Little Rock or from Batesville to Conway. There were nice big houses and buildings there. So, longtime resident Nelda Kennedy says that the Garrett family erected one of Quitman's finer homes in 1890. Another local, Mary Nell Hollibird, recalled the Jackson family who lived in the house in 65 Mulberry Street. And I'm just now realizing I skipped a line right at the start of my story that I'm going to tell you now.
Okay.
Yeah, about what the fuck this is about.
Secret.
So, yeah, you're like, oh, we're learning about a town and about a family, and I don't even know what's happening today. So, my story is about Gerald Bettis, a.k.a. Dog Boy. Does that ring a bell with you?
Nope.
All right. So I'll just keep going because this is the town that Gerald Bettis is from.
Perfect.
So another local, Mary Nell Hollibird, recalled the Jackson family who lived in the house at 65 Mulberry Street. Benjamin Jackson lived there with his wife, who died when she was about 28 years old. Their son, Joseph, was born in 1898, served in World War I, and then died at the age of about 21, Hollibird said. She also claims that Jackson's spirit is among those who remain in this house across the street from hers. In more recent years, though, the Garrett house has become notorious for its connection to a different family and has since then become known as the Bettis house. Floyd and Aline Bettis moved into the large house in early 1950. The couple, childless for many years, had a son, Gerald Floyd Bettis, in 1954, and according to a local historian, and this is according to a local historian in Arkansas Democrat Gazette archives. But Gerald was a difficult child from very early on. Those who knew him, what am I trying to say? He was a difficult child from early on, reported those who knew of him. There we go. His parents were good people, but Gerald was a brat, vicious, and cruel, Hollibird said. Bettis also developed some unusual habits early on, including cats and dogs, leading to his nickname Dog Boy. He would catch stray animals and torture them, and we could hear them howl, says Hollibird. Kennedy
Don't
agreed.
love that. That is usually a bad sign.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the stories that we've touched on in the podcast, usually if there's a child that is abusing animals, they catch or find and are like kind of being secretive about it and torturing them, that's usually a big sign that there's something else going on.
Yeah, generally
speaking. So Kennedy agreed with Hollibird's assessment of Bettis. I had almost forgotten all those cats and dogs that he had, but he even added on to the house so he could keep even more of them, she said. Kennedy also confirmed that Bettis had difficulties in school. Kids would pester him and take things away from him. It was like he wanted to be aggravated to get attention, she said. She cited one instance in which there was a large family reunion at the Quitman City Hall. Gerald took one of those old chaise lounges over there, you know, like the ones that the Romans would lay back on. He got some grapes
I
and
want
laid
one of
down
those.
on. Yeah, I'd want one of them too. But he got one, and then he got some grapes and laid down on it to eat them in front of everybody. Which is an interesting thing to do at a family reunion.
But kind of iconic.
It is mildly iconic, though.
Like, I am kind of impressed. And I might be using that move at my next
I was going to say, I'm kind of mad
reunion.
that I didn't think to do that myself first. Because I've been to many a
Right?
family reunion.
Definitely using it next time.
Mm-hmm. Bettis's actions allegedly then turned more sinister. He kept his parents virtually imprisoned in the upstairs part of the house, Hollibird said. He would... Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he would feed them, but only when he decided it was time for them to eat. Which is fucking crazy, by the way.
That is actually nuts.
Yeah, so this guy... So just to preface what we know about... there's like two names in this story, by the way. This isn't a mistake. This is on purpose, because people in Quitman call him Gerald, but he's colloquially known as Gerald. I think he might just go by both. But
Right.
to preface, yeah, it starts with him being a child, torturing, I'm assuming, squirrels and whatever he can catch. Then he builds, as like a teenager, an addition onto the house, so he can keep more animals like dogs and cats in his house and torture them.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point he decides to get all Greek with his family at a reunion and eat a bunch of grapes, and then imprison his parents upstairs in his family home.
So much happening here. I have no words. Genuinely no words.
Yeah, so by the time he was an adult, locals said that Bettis had towered over his elderly parents at 6'4", and he weighed close to 300 pounds. So in case you were curious on how he could keep two adult grown human beings trapped in their own home, like a lot of different like retellings of this specific story mention, like this guy was giant. Like he was a huge kid, a huge teenager, a huge adult, and by the time his parents had him, they were like older. Like not old, like obviously they get there eventually, but like, you know?
Right.
So
by the time that he's grown, they're like definitely like getting up there in age.
Exactly, yeah. And it was also regularly reported that he would beat up his own father and even threw him out of an upstairs window one time during his teen years. Although his dad was in his 70s at the time, the elder Bettis hung onto the ledge until local police had arrived, Hollibird said, according to the Heber Springs Sun-Times. Floyd Bettis then died in 1981 after an illness in his home, while other people say that they were pretty sure he was pushed down the stairs and died of a broken neck. Which I feel like people are saying... That's
concerning.
Yeah, and my thing is, like, it's one thing for speculation, but I feel like, especially if... Because this is one of the neighbors, right, that's sharing this part of the story of this home.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if your neighbors are saying to each other, like, yeah, he was pushed down the stairs and died of a broken neck, it's more likely than not they may have heard a thing or two or seen the police come by a couple of times. I feel like that's not usually something that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, that would be a very weird lie to, like, randomly make up. I feel like there's probably something there. Mm-hmm. If people are thinking that. I don't know. Right. Maybe that's just me.
So... I was afraid of Gerald, Kennedy said, and if you'd ever seen his eyes, they seemed to glow at night. One time he came over here and got on to us because we had trimmed a magnolia tree that overlapped into his backyard, she said. And when they started cleaning that house up, one of his uncles came to my house to borrow a gun, and that was because he was afraid of what would happen if Gerald got riled up.
That's concerning. I hate that, actually.
Well, like...
Because...
Clearly this guy has some sort of, instability problem. But the part that gets me too is by the time this guy's an adult, so like his parents are in his 70s, by the time he's like 18, 19, that's his house. The neighbors don't call it like his parents' house. They haven't been calling it his parents' house for a lot of this. Since he was like a teenager, they're just like, yeah, the parents don't own that house. That's the boy's house.
Yeah, that's how you know things are not looking great for the parents.
No. And then in early 1980, Aline Bettis fell and broke her hip, which then required a trip to the hospital. A retired nurse, Hollibird, so one of the neighbors who's been telling this story, witnessed Bettis's treatment of his mother, and this is a quote, he was slapping her around and telling her, "I'm going to have you arrested if you tell anyone what I did." Not long after this incident, Aline Bettis was placed in adult protective services and removed from the home permanently.
Spooky. I don't love that.
No.
This man is wild.
Mm-hmm. A little later, Gerald Bettis built a sunroom in the back of the house and sold the plants he grew, which includes marijuana, if you were curious. And then...
Of course. Not even surprised.
Yeah.
When he said he sold plants, I was like, okay, so weed.
Yeah. And then, so Hollibird said, and then authorities arrested him based on this and his mother's testimony of her abuse that they received. Bettis was then put in prison in the late 1980s and died of a drug overdose, Hollibird said. Arkansas Democrat Gazette archives confirm that Gerald Floyd Bettis died in May of 1988 at the age of 34. When Aline Bettis died in 1995, Hollibird's niece, Reba Carter, inherited the house. Not long afterwards, there was an estate sale at the house. Carter later sold the house to Tony Weaver, a truck driver from Morgan. Weaver and his wife lived in the Bettis house for a couple of years. However, the Weavers experienced paranormal activity, said Karen Schillings, founder of the Central Arkansas Society for Paranormal Research, also known as CASPR, or Casper for short.
I love that. Casper, the not-so-friendly ghost.
Yeah. So, after seeing a newspaper ad placed by Casper, Weaver's wife contacted the Schillings. She said that she would turn off all the lights before leaving to work on a night shift. And just to, I feel like I need to catch us up to speed on this. Basically, this lady who's sharing this news story, while her niece had got the Bettis house, so after the parents died and Dog Boy died, or Gerard Bettis died, the niece got the house, and since then it has changed hands several times, and now it's being elevated to a paranormal investigation society for whatever's going on.
So they think that it is haunted?
They do. So, I'll just recap on the paragraph I was saying. But she said she would turn off all the lights before leaving for work on a night shift, but when she returned, all of the lights in the house would be back on, Schilling said. At first, the woman thought such actions were the result of an intruder, but then more supernatural events began to happen. One time, pennies floated down the stairwell from the upper parts of the house. The coins then stopped and fell to the floor all at once right in front of where she was standing.
I think I would leave the country if that happened to me.
Oh, easy. Well, first I'd shit my pants.
Yeah,
That's
I'd be
the
gone.
first thing. The second thing would be getting my ass to the airport and getting on a plane to anywhere, because absolutely not. I would be
far
so
away.
freaked out.
Like the furthest away I could go.
Yeah, like, what do you mean there's pennies floating down the stairs, and right when I think I'm hallucinating, they all fall down right in front of my face? Like, what are you talking about?
I would actually cry. I don't know why that would be my initial response. I think I would just start crying hysterically.
Oh, if we're talking like a legitimate first response, mine probably wouldn't be to shit my pants. I think I'd pass out, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I would immediately get lightheaded and be like, oh, I'm going down. And then it would be me and the pennies
Good
on
night.
the floor. Yeah. Just chilling. That would be what happens.
Ugh, I fucking hate shit like that. But also,
So that's what Schilling said, the people who are now living in the Bettis house, or at the time were. And after 6 months of such occurrences, the wife was very scared and didn't want to live there anymore. Tony Weaver also had his share of baffling incidents. One day I was working on the house and I saw a man looking through the foyer into the living room. Which, a man, ew, first. Second of all, one that
looking
you
at
don't know.
me? Absolutely
one you
not.
don't know in your home looking at you, and then you, turn around and he's not there anymore? Absolutely not.
Get the fuck out of here, sir.
So Tony Weaver said that this man looked like a World War I soldier, complete with a helmet, and that he looked so real that when he walked into the living room, I ran after him, but nobody was there.
Hate that. Hate that so much.
See, that's what I mean. Like, even worse that, like, here's the thing about ghosts and stuff. If I'm seeing something out of the corner of my eye, like, I feel like that's one thing. If you're seeing something that fully looks like a person, where you fully believe that's a person, and then they disappear, absolutely not.
Ew.
Like,
No.
No. We are not playing those games.
Yeah. Ooh.
And and then, okay, yeah. So then Holber's nephew, Quentin White, and his wife, Stephanie, then lived in the house in 2003. Strange things would happen on a regular basis, like the commode would flush on its own, which is just a fancy way of saying toilet. Just saying. And so that's what Stephanie said. And then one day, Quentin was working on the house, and he was on the phone with her. He heard a crash upstairs, she said, and went to find out what had happened. White had previously stacked a large pile of 2x4s on the floor, and when he reached the upstairs room, he told his wife that the boards were all standing up straight.
Yeah.
I can barely even
There's
lift a 2x4. Like, I can't even imagine them all standing end to end perfectly straight and nobody's home.
I would actually just burn the whole place down. Like, I would be like, this is for the greater good.
Yeah, this is a favor.
It all needs to go.
So the couple only lived there for a few months after this happened.
I wonder why.
Shocking, right?
But the fact that they lasted a few months is longer than I ever would have.
Oh, fully, right?
I'd be there one night and then I would have cried, had a mental breakdown, and
Yeah,
moved.
you would have been out there the moment the commode was flushing on its own. But you'd be like, it's either ghosts or plumbing, and I got time for neither of those.
Yeah, those both sound like problems I don't want to deal with.
And I don't know how to deal with.
I ain't fucking around with that shit.
Yeah. So then Weaver, who still owns the Bettis house, continued to show the home to prospective buyers, but so far with little success. Weaver said once that he placed a new pair of sunglasses and a prescription medication on the table during the time that he was there, and he said he became angry about his hang on, I feel like I skipped a line. Weaver still owns the Bettis house to show the home to prospective buyers. Weaver said he once placed a pair of new once he placed a new pair of sunglasses and a prescription medication on a table. Oh, okay, never mind. Scratch that, flip it, reverse it. I'm continuing on.
Amazing.
During the time he was there, he said he became angry about his inability to sell the house and voiced his resentment, saying, "These darned spooks, I'm tired of taking care of this place." This is just my assumption on what he sounds like.
I mean, he's American, so it's probably accurate.
Yeah. And he said his comments apparently angered someone or something, as later both the glasses and the medication had disappeared from the table.
That ghost was like, F you,
Fuck
sir.
You, your
I'm
apples
taking your glasses.
and your prescription. Get the fuck out.
They're in the basement. I dare you to go down there.
Yeah, it's just it's like the clinking. No, the pill bottles are floating down the second set of stairs into the basement. No, they didn't
hate that
do
image.
that. They could have. So then, this is a quote. "If you bring somebody in there that they, the spirits, don't like, you'll feel chills and your hair will stand on end," he said. One lady who was interested in buying the house brought her young daughter with her. The woman told Weaver that her daughter was sensitive. While the women were walking through the home, the daughter stopped on the stairs and said that she felt very sad. That's what he said. And then another time, some prospective buyers saw a recliner in the home flipped back on its own like somebody was sitting in the chair. And it stayed stuck like that the whole time they were looking around the place. And then another prospective buyer brought their dog with them to see the house, but the animal refused to go inside.
That's how you know. That's how every fucking horror movie starts. Is the family moves to the new house and the family dog's like, hell no.
He's like, you guys can stay. I'm leaving.
I'm sleeping outside. It's preferable to that shit.
Whatever shit's going on in there. Exactly right. Then Ed Munnerlin of Little Rock said that he had eerie encounters in the Bettis house this summer. Now, to be fair, a lot of my notes and this interview piece were done quite a few years ago, so I believe this would have been around 2007, so not any time recent, folks. But this fellow said that he encountered some stuff in the Bettis house, and he is a former pilot with the Federal Express. Munnerlin had worked remodeling the home since May of that year, and he preferred to work on the house at night because he said there were too many people who were curious about ghosts that would come in during the day, which is fair.
That is fair.
He has also had several unexplainable things happen to him while living there. "I'm a rational person. I don't believe in the paranormal, but since working on that place, I feel very uncomfortable, like somebody's watching me." Yuck.
I hate that.
He also claims to have seen spirits several times. "When I pull up to the driveway of the home at night, I see a man looking down on me. He's dressed in a brown jacket and a bow tie like he's from another time."
Again, a man looking at me? No thanks.
Ew. In my own home? Ugh. No.
Get the fuck out of here, sir.
I don't care what century they're from. They are not allowed in here.
Ugh. Absolutely
An extension
not.
to the house is where Munnerlin claims to have seen the ghost of Gerald Bettis looking at him several times. He was this huge, weird-looking cat with long brown hair, creepy eyes, great big arms, and hands. "He walked right in front of me and glared at me," Munnerlin said. "Right after I saw him, he walked through the hall and he disappeared." Now, to be clear, I don't think he's literally meaning that this guy looked like a cat. I think it's more of a comment on how quiet and slinking Gerald was through the home.
That's disappointing. I was imagining, like, you know, the movie Cats? I was imagining that.
You're like, oh, that's kind of less scary, actually. Can all my ghosts look like cats? Do they also sing?
Horrific.
But yeah, either way, though, with the description of being enormous, long brown hair with creepy eyes and great big hands and arms, no. I'd rather see the World War I guy again, actually. Can we go back to him?
Yeah, he's slightly better. If this guy's not actually a cat.
Hey, that guy,
but if he is actually a cat,
sense. Yes,
you know,
that would make the difference. It's true.
It would.
Munnerlyn said he also experienced what felt like a cold wind blowing down his neck. And then he quotes, "Sometimes I hear something slam or someone walking across the floor, but I can't see anything. But they let me know that they're there." Which is nice.
I just, no. I don't want to know that they're there. Can they not let me know? Is that an option?
I feel like that's the original option, but what happens if you're like, okay, I'm kind of tired. You can tell me that you're here now. And then would you appreciate them letting you know that they're there?
No. I'd rather be unaware.
Fair. That's very fair. Then, in 2005, Casper investigated the house. Schillings was the lead researcher on this case, and she quotes, "We went there on 2 different occasions," she said. "The first time we noticed cold spots 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the ambient temperature of the house," which is kind of huge, just to be clear. Like, and then a very sensitive electromagnetic field detector was used that picks up all kinds of electromagnetic readings. So we picked up on an energy force in the home that has no explanation. Schillings also reported that the team tracked an entity through the kitchen area where one of the team members felt like somebody had touched him. When we went outside at one point to get some items from a car, we looked up and saw a face peering down at us, she said. All 3 of the Casper team members witnessed this face in the window, and it was confirmed that there was nobody upstairs at the time.
I can never be a paranormal investigator.
I know.
Like, it would not be. That's a job I could not do. Because if I saw a face in a window, I'd be like, I'm simply jumping off a bridge. That's the only solution.
A face in a window is normally freaky, but then add in the fact of, and nobody's supposed to be there. Like, absolutely not.
I'm going to throw up thinking about that.
Thank you for nothing. Thank you for the worst experience of my life.
Like, get out of, can I say get out of here any more times? But I really mean it.
I really mean it this time. So then, that's the first time they went to the home to do an investigation. The second time, the team brought with them a medium who got in touch with what seemed to be the spirit of Gerald Bettis. Schilling said, "He cursed at us and told us to get out." The team used videotape to document what they considered to be additional evidence of paranormal activity, which included flying orbs through walls and unexplained flashing lights. And although footage of these ghost hunting expeditions was shot over 2 occasions, Schilling said that the more spectacular tape that they took is missing, and multiple attempts to locate the film have failed. "It is very disconcerting," she said.
Agreed. That is very disconcerting.
Mm-hmm. And that
the lady is spitting facts.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hint, not the hint, the message here is that she believes, like, as the investigator of the team, that it is not unintentional that this tape went missing. She's fairly sure that Gerald Bettis may have taken the tape.
It's with the sunglasses and the prescription,
and the pill bottles in a circle in the basement, just waiting for somebody to go down there and pick them up.
I would not go down there for that shit.
No. And, well, that is the scary ending, or the ominous ending, I guess, to my story for you today, which is half crime, half paranormal, of Gerald Bettis, a.k.a. Dog Boy.
Love it. He gets a 0 out of 100 from me.
I was so pleased when I found this story, because I feel like the times that I get, like, a good paranormal or kind of, folklore-y crimes crossing over into actual crimes is like, that like never happens.
It's your bread and butter.
It's my bread and butter.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. Well, Jen, how do you feel about Gerald Bettis or Gerard Bettis, Dog Boy?
I feel like he is not aptly named. He shouldn't be allowed to be called Dog Boy when he was just rude to a bunch of dogs and animals.
Yeah, the reasoning that he got specifically the nickname Dog Boy is because of the sheer amount of animals they kept in the home. So when he was a kid, he was torturing like wildlife and like cats and whatever he could catch outside. But then when he got old enough to capture them and bring them inside of his home, that's why they expanded the house and like made another room, is because he literally had like, there's no like number documented anywhere, but like basically a hoarder situation, but with dogs specifically. Like, he really liked to keep dogs.
But also as a parent, that's crazy to expand your home in order to fit your son's like random pets, and then your son just takes over your house and kills you.
But I think at that point though, like if they were allowing him or having him expand the home for his hobby of collecting and torturing animals, I think at that point they knew that they were like in trouble, and that they just wanted to do whatever it is that they wanted so he wouldn't hurt them.
That's really sad.
Right?
Like I said, he gets a 0 out of 100 from me.
Mm-hmm. And that is my story for you guys today. I would expand more on this, but I feel like we've pretty much covered it. If you like today's show, make sure to leave us a review on wherever you're listening to our podcast. 5 stars is always appreciated. We also have our email, which is wheelofcrime@gmail.com. We have our website, which is www.wheelofcrime.com, if you want to check us out on there. We have our Patreon, which is Wheel of Crime at Patreon. We have our social media, which is Wheel of Crime on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. And lastly, if you listened to today's story and you were like, oh, I'm from Arkansas and I've heard of this, or, oh, I know a little bit more about Dog Boy than you mentioned on the show, or maybe you...
Or if you're
yourself.
a ghost living in the house.
Yeah, or if you're a ghost, or if you have your own true crime / paranormal story, make sure to write into the show. You can use our form. We have it up on all of our social media and available if you want to write in. We do still do our feature listener episodes throughout the year, and you could get your chance to be featured on our next listener episode if you write in with your own story.
Yes, and that's it. That's all. We'll see you next week for another new episode. Okay, bye.
Bye.